Hey everybody, Coach Toolshed here. Today we're going to be discussing the Fallout 76 panel that happened over this past week at PAX East in Boston, where none other than Todd Howard appeared to bestow his blessings upon the masses and give us a little smirk and a grin about the current state of Fallout 76. And of course, there's been much talk over the last couple days as well because we saw some information about the Elder Scrolls 6. So of course, the internet and YouTube is just sitting there salivating and already buying into what they're saying, hook, line, and sinker. So I just want to discuss the panel briefly and some of the stuff that stood out to me, because one of the things that really stood out to me the most, first and foremost, is they came right out of the gates and they were really hard on themselves. They were using some really harsh language to describe Fallout 76 and the launch period. They used such brutal terms as interesting. And they went so far as to say that the game had some ups and downs. And I was just like, wow, you guys are really sounding very contrite about the launch of Fallout 76, which, as we all know, was quite smooth. It had no backlash at all. It had pretty much universal support. I think we can all agree on that. Of course, everything I said over the last 30 seconds was complete and utter BS, because we all know that that's not what happened. And so when they came out and right away, you could tell how they're going to spin this, how they're going to talk about Fallout 76. They're just going to put their head down like nothing ever happened, nothing ever went wrong. This is the first time we've seen Todd Howard come out of his little shell for the last 5 months, and here he is, and they're just going to steamroll past any issue that they had by just saying, yeah, they had some issues that showed up on screen. That's as far as they went to addressing it. That is as far as they went. So if we had any doubt, I mean, I wasn't surprised, but if anyone had any doubt about how they're going to handle this, if they were going to show any sort of, give an apology or any sort of mea culpa about how the game launched, and especially how the public received the game and all of the backlash, they're not going to even bother addressing it. They're just going to steamroll right past it. So if anyone had any doubts, there you go. Because within just a few minutes, they were sitting back, patting each other on the back and regaling themselves with tall tales about all the great times they've had out in West Virginia in Fallout 76. And they were talking about, oh, remember Todd when this guy built that? Boy, that sure was awesome. They were just having a grand old time trying to pitch the game and talk about how many people were playing. Todd said that they had a community of millions of people playing, which I think we all know isn't exactly accurate. Sure, there's still some people playing, but sales and current player totals are not the same thing, and they know that, but of course they got to try to spin it any way they can. There is no doubt that a lot of people actually got the game. We already knew that that was going to happen because of the Fallout name, but the game didn't sell well. Todd can say that it sold well all he wants, but when stores across the globe are literally giving away physical copies of your game because they over-ordered, they had too much physical stock on hand that they could not move, so that they were giving your game away. And there was multiple reports of this happening in stores all over the planet. So for Todd to say that the game just sold remarkably well, we all know that that is just wishful thinking. That's not accurate. And people can try to defend that all they want. Of course it sold some, but for them to say that the community right now is millions strong, I highly, highly doubt that. And of course, we're never going to see numbers of that until maybe the game goes live on Steam, and then we'll see if anyone's actually still playing the game, because they did say that the game is coming to Steam. I'm sure Steam players will be thrilled to get their hands on Fallout 76. Because the entire rest of the panel was just dedicated to talking about upcoming stuff and stuff that they can't talk about, but they're really excited about, but they can't talk about. And Todd's saying there's stuff that he's not allowed to talk about, even though he's in charge of the entire project, which is cute. But yeah, all this secretive stuff that they're not ready to talk about that's coming, that's just going to blow our socks off and completely change the game. Okay, great. That's fine. I think at this point, I think we already know about how these games go. They have a launch window for games as a service titles. And if they don't hit within that launch window, if the game doesn't hit right away, it doesn't really matter what you do. You can keep pumping assets into it over time, and you can see how that goes. But what happens is you have a hardcore community that develops around it. And they love the game because they were there at the start. They love it. They are already sold on the game. And as time goes by and more people drop off, people who didn't like the game leave, people who kind of like the game, but they only wanted to play it for a month or so, they're gone. People who only played it for a week or two, they're all gone. So what you have left now, after 4, almost 5 months we're going on here, since the beta period, and the people who are invested in the game are heavily invested. They've already put hundreds of hours into this game. And they love the game. So what happens is you weed out the people over time that don't like it, and then all that's left are people that do love it. So what you hear over time, oh, the game's great now. The game's great now. Oh, don't you guys know the game's great now? They made so many changes. They added all this. It's great now. When in reality, sure, they may have added some stuff, but it's still the same base game at the end of the day. Because even now, 5 months later, you can see in this footage, there's still all sorts of technical bugs and glitches popping up, missing walls and texture issues, and stuttering frame rate and all that. The game's not cleaned up still. They're talking about all this other stuff and these other systems they want to add in. And it's been the problem with Fallout 76 the entire time, is that they try to do everything, and they're still trying to do it. They're just trying to jam more stuff into the game instead of fixing and streamlining the systems that they have in place. And I understand you need to add content to these looter-type open-world games to keep people invested. I get that. That's fine. But it sounds like they just want to keep adding new systems in instead of adding more content. Because, as Todd said in the panel, they don't care so much about content because the real fun is the player-made fun, which we all know how that goes. So, sure, they're going to have some more events. They're promising all this new stuff, and that's fine. And maybe, the game will get better over time. But I assure you the reports will be that the game's great now. Because I've already seen it. I've seen some people talking about, yes, the game's great now. When in reality, it's still the same base game. If you didn't like it before, you're not going to like it now. And that's just how all these games go. And the reports always improve over time. The reviews always get better over time. Because only the people who love the game are left there to report it. It's as obvious as anything. But people go for it all the time. You hear it all the time with these live service games. Oh, it's good now, it's good now. So we'll see. But anyway, moving on, I just want to very quickly talk about the hype train that I already see forming around Elder Scrolls 6 based on just a few pictures of some animation of a Skyrim YouTuber that they put into the game, that they have some facial capture done. They didn't show any animation, just some facial capture. And people are already just hyped up. Bethesda put out another documentary about how they're making the game. They're talking about how they're working so hard on these next-gen engine upgrades, and they're doing all this stuff. They're fixing all this. They're ready to go. They're ready to hit the ground running. This is going to be the biggest, best game they ever did. And people are already just up in arms. They're so excited for the Elder Scrolls 6. And I just want to say, guys, we just had this conversation last year with Fallout 76, and so many people were like, I'm not going to buy into the hype next time. I'm not going to buy into the hype next time. And as soon as we see anything about the game, people are just sitting there ready to throw money at the screen. Just based on a couple of pictures and a documentary they put out where they're promising that they're working really hard. Guys, I told you I was going to be here to say it, and I'm here to say it now because I already see it happening. Do not sit there and buy in to the marketing hype and the promises of Todd Howard and company. Why would you do that? What could possibly be going through your head that you're going to sit and watch another Bethesda Game Studios faux documentary about how hard they're working on their engine, and you're just going to buy it hook, line, and sinker? That is mind-blowing to me that anyone at this point could still be that gullible to buy into it. Let them put it into an actual game first. Let's get a game in our hands. Stop buying into the promises of Bethesda. I've had this conversation with you guys over and over again over the last several months leading up to the launch of Fallout 76. And a lot of people didn't want to believe me then. And I know there's going to be people that are already fully bought into Elder Scrolls 6 now based on just a little bit of stuff that we saw this past week. And it's just crazy to me that people are doing it. I just want to advise some caution. That's all I ever try to do, really. Just advise caution. Don't let the hype train get yourself out of control where you're thinking about all these magical things that could be in Elder Scrolls 6. Let's just see if Bethesda Game Studios can actually pull something off. because I'm highly skeptical, and you should be too. And if you really think about it, you know that I'm right. You may not want to admit it to yourself. Make Bethesda prove it to you. Don't buy into the marketing hype and the spin. This game is still years away. Don't sit here and be salivating for the next 3 years waiting for Elder Scrolls 6. Please. I'm not going to be able to handle it if I see Elder Scrolls 6 talk for the next 3 years before it launches. Please, people. Hold it together. We don't need a priapism for everybody here. Calm yourselves down. Anyway, that's it for me, Coach Toolshed. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm sure there's going to be some people upset. Anytime I talk about Bethesda, people get upset, and that's fine. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you later. I'm Coach Toolshed. Please subscribe if you want to stay in tune with the channel head forward. And as always, keep it turned to 11. By the way, Bethesda, you want to show off your new engine and your new tech? Well, we're here in 2019, and this is what a current generation 2019 AAA looter shooter open world game actually looks like right now. So you can show all the tech you want, but this is where the industry is currently at, and the rest of the video shows where you are at, so you have your work cut out for you. So you can show me all the tech demos you want, but I know where the industry already is, and you are way, way behind. So you can show me all the fancy screen caps you want, and the facial textures, anything. Put it in a game. Let's see it running. Because we already know that you can't even get Fallout 76 running properly with this outdated animation system. So, once again, prove it. It's on you. It's not on me.